Parshat Shemini is one of what I call the kashrut parshiot, describing the various rules of kashrut, especially when it comes to eating of animals. And it's an opportunity for rabbis to preach in this modern context what the benefits are to keeping kosher, providing holiness, not usually cleanliness, but really sort of a sense of holiness and discipline. And it's also a portion where those who want to preach veganism or vegetarianism can also share their values. This coming Thursday, we are privileged to have Rabbi Akiva Gersh to share his wisdom on the matter of veganism. He's been a vegan for almost 30 years and has really found a way to merge his Jewish teaching with that practice and to show how one can live really a fulfilling, I would say, cleaner life and more sort of ideas sort of focused on environmentalism and just making the world a better place. I don't know what he's going to say. He is flying back in from Israel this evening. And so how do I whet your appetite to come without stealing his thunder? So I'm going to try my best. I won't really mention a lot of Jewish text. I want to save that for him. But I just kind of want to set the stage of why we are bringing him. Why should we encourage each other to eat less animal products? I am not yet, I'll use that word, okay, Franz Rosenzweig sort of put the idea that we're always growing in our observance and our practices. So I am not yet a vegan or a vegetarian. My daughters really thrive on eating their animal protein. But it doesn't mean that there aren't issues to the way that animals are raised for consumption these days. We are post-industrial. And as we have phrased it, the military-industrial complex, well, we have the culinary industrial complex. In order to feed the billions and billions of people in the world and also to allow to maximize profits, agriculture and animal raising is industrialized now. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that leads to both the treatment of animals and to environmental issues. I want to focus more on the environmental ones. That's more true to my heart. I know more about it. I've not been to a slaughterhouse or to a hen house to sort of know. There's plenty of YouTubes out there that make their case and point that there is pain to the animals. I'm going to leave that to there because it's not my expertise. But the environmental one is one that is dear to my heart. And there's another Jewish vegan specialist out there. His name is Dr. Richard Schwartz. He lives in Staten Island. He's over 80 years old. And actually, he used the quarantine lockdown to spread his message on Zoom to many, many different places. And he's a mathematician by trade and training. And so he actually brings all of the various different mathematical statistics on how much energy is consumed to raise cattle for consumption versus if we were to take that actual grain and consume it ourselves as humans. That it takes like 20 times amount of grain to raise 1 pound of beef than it does for us to make a porridge or whatever product we were going to make from those corn and those soybeans. Many of us like to eat lots of lettuce. We've had plenty of romaine lettuce scares. It's only grown really in California, Arizona, and a little bit of Mexico. Now we know where it comes from and we see the season. Well, the most recent scare last year, what was it from? It was from runoff from manure on cattle. And so the fact that we raise cattle affects actually the vegetables that we eat. It affects the cleanliness. Cattle release the 4 most greenhouse gases, including methane. If we were to just reduce some of this, the environmental impact, the way of saving greenhouse gases, hopefully making our agriculture safer to eat, would really just make the world a better place. I'm not saying that we need to totally end our meat consumption. It's going to take some time to do so. But the less that we consume, the better. And yes, there is going to be disruption. You read about the dairy industry actually is feeling quite disruption. All you need to do is go to the supermarket, just see how many plant alternatives to milk there are. Not just soy milk anymore, but oat milk and rice milk, hemp milk. It's all there for the taking. And the dairy industry is afraid they're going to lose their livelihood. But sometimes you need to have disruption. If we're going to save this world and we are going to change the industries and the way that we use our resources, sometimes disruption is good. And what about, people keep asking me, well, the Torah talks about animal sacrifices. The rabbis say, Ein simcha ela b'basar v'yayin. There's no joy except with meat and with wine. That's all subjective. There are plenty of people who live a dry life. There's articles that say even moderate drinking is not so healthy. Doesn't require it. It just says this was a way that brought people joy. If there's another way to bring people joy that saves the world and saves our health, the better. Some people say without the sacrifices, we shouldn't be eating meat altogether. That's not how our ancestors ate. If you look, and I've done some research on how most people in ancient times ate, they ate primarily a vegan diet, especially in Israel. They ate olive oil, they made barley cakes, they ate a lot of legumes and a lot of fruit because that's what they had. They could not afford to eat meat. And yes, they had dairy, but their animals lived with each other. And they would let their young suck on the milk as well, and humans would then just have what was the surplus, what was after that. Now in the industrial, again, you'll sort of see they literally whisk the young calves away from the mother cows the moment that they are born. And that's not with Jewish teaching. And so I really encourage everyone, if they're able to join us this Thursday at 8:15 to hear about Rabbi Gersh, who's going to tell us about bringing veganism into our Jewish practice. Again, Meatless Tuesdays or whatever, Meatless Mondays, I guess I like the alliteration, replacing one meal or one day's meal with vegan food will truly have an impact. And perhaps we can bring a new post-industrial revolution to how we eat and how we live our lives in concert and in harmony with this world. And actually, I didn't even think about it. Earth Day is 2 days after the event on April 20th. So I encourage everybody to dedicate this week to making the earth a little bit better place to live. And let us say, Amen.